This resume right here got over 15 interviews for level 2 software engineering roles in New York City, both for myself and for all of the engineers I've mentored. And just a little bit of proof, here are the offer letters I've gotten from Amazon as well as Google, just to provide a little bit of proof. So at this point, you have a couple years of experience or more. You're not fresh out of college, you're looking for SWE 2 roles. That's why you clicked on this video. And the old resume advice that worked for you to get a role fresh out of college, it's just not going to work anymore. The strategies for landing SWE 2 roles are completely different than the strategies for landing new grad software engineering roles. And if you're watching this video, you are not a new grad, you are looking for software engineering 2 SWE 2 roles. And so at the end of the day, the resume is really that one document that's going to control how many interviews we get. So it's important that we actually pay attention to it and optimize it. And so in this video, I'm going to go over roughly five things on this resume that ultimately helps it land so many interview calls. So first things first is really the header at the top of the resume. You know, it's got the typical stuff like phone number, email, LinkedIn, GitHub. But one of the biggest things that a lot of people forget to include on their resume is their work authorization. And so whether you're on a visa, whether you're a US citizen, you've got to put this on the top left of your resume. This will help you get more interviews, especially in today's market where there's a lot of uncertainty around visas and work authorization. One of the biggest things recruiters are going to check for first is your work authorization. So if you're a US citizen, just put that top left at the top of your resume. It will help you get more interviews. Next, the actual titles on your resume. This is something that not a lot of people actually know about, but I've talked to recruiters in the industry about this. And so I review hundreds and hundreds of resumes every single month. And a lot of people I see on their resume different titles like back-end developer, full stack developer, front-end engineer. They've got these different titles for all their roles, and that's a huge, huge mistake. What you want to do is just put your title as software engineer for every single one of the work experiences on your resume. And this will help you get more interviews for two reasons. Let me explain. The first is ATS. If you're applying to a role where the title is software engineer, ATS is specifically going to check your resume to see if any of your previous experiences have the job title of software engineer. And if you have it as something else like a back-end developer or full stack engineer, then ATS is going to think you don't have any software engineering experience, which I know sounds ridiculous, but these are the systems that companies are using to scan resumes. And so all of the titles on your resume need to be consistent. It needs to just say software engineer, software engineer, software engineer for however many experiences you have. Then, once you get past ATS and a recruiter actually reads your resume, remember, they're only skimming it for around 10 seconds. That's all you have to really make a strong impression with them. And even for recruiters, I've spoken to recruiters at big tech companies about this, and even they have said that they want all the titles to just be clean and consistent. SWE, SWE, SWE. They don't want to see different titles all over the place. So it doesn't really matter what your previous title was at your previous role, as long as it was related to software engineering work and you were doing the typical work of a software engineer. It doesn't matter if that company gave you a different title. Just put software engineer on your resume and you will get more interviews. I guarantee you that. And so there's a few other things I want to point out as well, and it has to do with the actual metrics and percentages and quantitative impact on the resume. So you can see things here like improved accuracy by 20%, improved system throughput by 30%, and then there's some bullet points that don't really have any metrics at all. And for all the resumes I review every month, I see people falling into one of two buckets, one of two camps, and both of them are a huge mistake. One camp is people who have no metrics and no bullet points on their resume at all. And a lot of times the reason that they don't have it is because they're scared to include it on their resume. It's because they're like, what if I get asked about this in an interview? What if I can't defend it? And that imposter syndrome kind of holds them back, and it ultimately prevents them from getting interviews at amazing top tech companies. So some people have like very few metrics, maybe in none of their bullet points or just one or two of the bullet points on their resume, and that's a big mistake. The other camp is people who just abuse it and they put it in every single bullet point, and that's a terrible idea as well, because recruiters can tell that you've kind of fluffed up your resume and it's all embellished, and you're not going to really be able to defend that. So you want to find a sweet spot. Around 50% of the bullet points on your resume should have percentages, metrics, etc., and around 50% of them should not. This is super, super crucial. Recruiters are non-technical. Recruiters, they don't know how to code. They've never even solved TwoSum or any leak code questions. And so recruiters are mainly looking for that business impact, metrics, percentages, And they really want to see it bolded ideally in those bullet points as well, because that's what they're skimming for. Recruiters don't know what, the actual tech stack you're using at your software engineering role and kind of what that signifies. What they really want to see is the metrics and percentages highlighted across your bullet points. It's absolutely crucial. Next, the technical skills section. I won't say too much about this one, but even in 2026, there are some companies that are actually just using keyword filters and scanning resumes for certain keywords and really filtering out candidates based on that. It's kind of silly that some companies still use those outdated methods to filter resumes, but even in 2026, there are still companies that use keyword filtering as part of their ATS. So you do want to kind of fluff this section up a little bit with certain tools and technologies. The one caveat I'll give you is make sure it's something you're actually somewhat familiar with. You don't need to be an expert, but as long as you're somewhat familiar with it, just add it to the resume and you will get more interview calls. And then once you do land an interview, that's when you can kind of brush up on anything on your resume and make sure you can actually defend it in the interview. But if you don't even have any upcoming interviews, don't stress about the interview. Just focus on optimizing your resume so that you can get more interviews. That's really the exact mindset and strategy I use to get interviews and ultimately offers from Amazon and Google. So I can confirm that approach works. And then last but not least, the education section. At this point, if you're watching this video, you've got at least a couple of years of experience. You're not fresh out of college. So please make sure your education section is at the bottom of your resume. The only people who should have their education section at the top of their resume are people fresh out of college. And again, this channel is not for people who are students. This channel is not for people who are, just graduated 2 months ago. This channel is for engineers with a couple years of experience or more. And so if you found this valuable, leave a like, leave a comment, and I will see you soon.